Stimulus checks have been incredibly important to lift people out of poverty over the last year and a half. We're also finding that additional stimulus checks going forward will ultimately help people from slipping back into poverty and keep them out of poverty indefinitely. These are some powerful statements, which is exactly what we're going to go through in this video. Let's get right into it. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video, as I am back every single day to keep you updated with all of this information that is changing literally every single day. There is new information coming out right now about stimulus checks, the stimulus package, Social Security, SSDI, SSI, VA, RRB, low income, no income, and anything else that we can do to help out everybody within all of these categories. So this channel right here is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know with everything going on right now. So make sure to hit that subscribe button right down below the video if you haven't done so yet, and I promise you I will be back every single day to help out each and every one of you on this channel in any way that I can with all of this information from all the research that I do every single day. So thank you for your support. I truly appreciate it. Let's talk through this as we have some really important information that was recently released. So as many of us know, over the last year and a half or so, since early 2020, we have been issued these three different stimulus checks, totaling $3,200 per individual, which has actually been incredibly powerful, lifting people out of poverty last year and this year so far. Now, we're finding from some of these reports and studies that are being conducted right now, these stimulus checks that have been issued have been the best defense against poverty going forward. These are called anti-poverty checks or anti-poverty programs. Well, that sounds pretty appetizing, right? I mean, seriously, that sounds really nice, knowing that these simple stimulus checks that have been sent out to the American people over the last year and a half or so have lifted millions, I mean literally tens of millions of people out of poverty last year and here in 2021. However, one of the problems is if these stimulus checks do not continue it to some capacity, we fear that many more people will slip back into poverty over the coming months and years as a result. Well, with that being said, I'm going to bring my wife in, Corey. She's going to read a portion of an article to you that is actually very important and lays this all out to you right in the article. Now, this article is actually very long. She's only going to be reading about the first half of it. We'll bring you the second half of the article in a separate video as it's very, very long, but I think you're going to find some very interesting and helpful information right out of this article. So, with that being said, Corey, you take it away, and I will see all of you again in just a minute, and we can go through the key takeaways out of this article and why it is so important to bring more stimulus checks for low-income and fixed-income beneficiaries. All right, Corey, take it away, and I'll see you in just a minute.
This article is from Vox.com, written by Dylan Matthews. The big drop in American poverty during the pandemic explained. The lesson from the past year: poverty is a policy choice. In 2020 and 2021, the federal government gave Americans an unprecedented amount of money. A big part of the U.S.'s response to COVID-19 was strengthening the existing safety net or providing relief specific to particular types of spending, like food and housing. Food stamps/SNAP benefits were raised. Evictions were barred nationwide for over a year. But the core of the response was an unprecedentedly large and inclusive set of stimulus checks directly shoveling money to most Americans in 3 rounds: March and December 2020 and March 2021. Most adult Americans got $3,200 each, and most American children got $2,500. Then, starting in July 2021, most American children started getting $250 per month, with young kids getting $300 a month. These are broad-based policies with only quite wealthy Americans excluded from benefits. The first round of stimulus payments, for instance, were available to 93% of Americans, with only the richest 7% being left out. But unlike stimulus checks passed during the 2001 and 2008 downturns, the 2020 and 2021 checks were universal at the bottom of the income scale. They had no work requirement or requirement that recipients paid federal taxes in the past. That means that the stimulus checks should have a profound effect on poverty that past year or so, and that's exactly what researchers are finding. In March, researchers at Columbia, led by Zachary Parolin, estimated that As a result of President Joe Biden's stimulus package, the American Rescue Plan, the U.S. poverty rate would fall to 8.5%, the lowest figure on record and well below 2018's figure of 12.8%. This past month, researchers at the Urban Institute, using a slightly different means of measuring poverty, found that in 2021, poverty will be at about 7.7%, almost halving relative to 2018's rate of 13.9% per their methodology. And the U.S. Official U.S. Census poverty statistics of 2020 have not yet been released. The Columbia authors find that if you compare 2021 to every year from which the census does have data, from 1967 to 2019, and use a consistent poverty line, 2021 is projected to have the lowest poverty rate on record. Considering that the U.S. endured a pandemic and economic shock in 2020, these numbers are remarkable. And that's big news, and it's good. It's important, though, to dig a little deeper into what these studies are projecting and what it could mean for future policymaking. Much of the credit for lower poverty in their models goes to the stimulus checks. And while the Biden administration hopes to keep the $250/$300 per month checks to parents going, the periodic rounds of stimulus payments during the height of the pandemic were meant to be temporary emergency measures. That means the absent further government action, poverty could be set to increase again in 2022. The good news is that Americans learned a key lesson during the pandemic. Poverty is a policy choice, and it can easily be reduced through increased government support.
All right, so there it is. As you can see in this article, a lot of really good information. As you can see, they are certainly advocates of additional stimulus checks, and they are absolutely in support of these direct payments because it ultimately lifted millions of people out of poverty here in 2021. In fact, as you noticed, one of the statistics that they were saying is that here in 2021, the poverty rate is expected to be about 7.7%, which is a historic low on the poverty rate. Well, I mean, all this can be attributed to these 3 stimulus checks that have been distributed over the last year and a half or so. So going forward, as you also noticed in the article, they're saying that if we don't get additional stimulus checks and or stimulus programs or some kind of monthly relief or some type of additional payments for low-income and fixed-income beneficiaries, we could fear that this poverty rate could tick back up as many people slip back into poverty as a result of these stimulus checks no longer being issued, which is why we continue to see all of these guaranteed basic income programs popping up. We've seen talk about a 4th stimulus check. We've seen talk about monthly recurring stimulus checks. We've seen all kinds of things. Reform to the SSI program up to 100% of the federal poverty line, which would ultimately be lifting those millions of people, again, out of poverty. So again, there's a lot of different initiatives going on out there right now to lift millions of people out of poverty. Here's the thing. 2020, don't get me wrong, was kind of a really bad year for so many things, right? A lot of people really struggled, and here in 2021, a lot of people are still really having a hard time. But if we can see any kind of silver lining that came out of last year and this year so far, we're certainly seeing a lot of different policy changes, as in people are finally recognizing, they're finally seeing the light that, oh, wow, well, 2020 and 2021 really opened our eyes that we can actually do something to help out the people here in America, the United States, to help them stay out of poverty. We can do that through injecting cash payments right into their bank accounts or right onto their Direct Express cards. Now, one more thing, I want to mention this. This is somewhat of a controversial topic, but I'm going to bring it up because it was kind of somewhat of a misstatement or a misunderstanding about a week or a couple weeks ago. So one of the representatives came out and said that poverty is a choice. Well, here's the thing. I think that was a misunderstanding. I think what she meant to say, because it was actually alluded to right in this article, poverty is a policy choice. I think that's what they're referring to, is poverty is a policy choice. What they mean by this is, once again, 2020 and 2021 have opened the eyes of the government to be like, oh, hey, poverty is actually a policy choice in the fact that we can actually lift people out of poverty because of our policy choices, right? If they just so happen to make the right policy choices, they can lift those people right out of poverty going forward. So therefore, some of the choices that they've made with the policies that they have implemented, unfortunately, may keep some people in poverty. But if they just so happen to change their policy choices, hey, check it out. People could be lifted out of poverty simply with just some cash infusions into their bank accounts in the form of monthly checks, periodic stimulus checks, monthly recurring payments. I mean, you name it, whatever they happen to choose. These are some of the best ways that we can actually lift people out of poverty through policy choices. So again, I think that was a little bit of a misunderstanding a few weeks ago when the representative said poverty is a choice. I don't think she actually meant like, hey, you're choosing to live in poverty. I don't think she meant that. By the way, I am not saying that at all. I'm not saying that anybody is choosing to live in poverty. I mean, let's be real. Does anybody really want to live in poverty? I mean, maybe somebody out there does, but I'm guessing the vast majority of people probably don't enjoy it. I'm just thinking. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anybody chooses. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to live in poverty today. You know what I mean? I think it's just an unfortunate situation that many people are dealing with. And it's just something that we need to figure out and kind of figure out how can we best approach this to lift people out of poverty. Well, we're certainly finding it right here. Stimulus checks, like additional stimulus checks, one stimulus check, monthly recurring payments, and or raises to benefits or whatever else they decide, we're simply finding that these payments are the best antidote for poverty, right? Ultimately lifting people out of poverty. I don't know. Pretty good article right there. A lot of good information. We've been finding a lot of really good stuff lately about this anti-poverty packages and additional stimulus checks and all of these guaranteed basic income programs. I mean, seriously, there's a lot cooking out there right now when it comes to poverty. Again, last year and this year have really opened the eyes of a lot of people when it comes to poverty and how incredibly important it is to lift these people up. I mean, seriously. I mean, really, should anybody need to be able to, or should anybody have to live this way in the United States? You know, everybody says this is the richest country in the world. If that's the case, then why are so many people struggling right now? I mean, seriously, does that make any sense to anybody? No, not really, right? Let's do something to help these people out. So, hope you enjoyed this. We will bring back the other portion of this article in a separate video. As I mentioned, it's a long one. I mean, realistically, I could give you a 10-minute video of just Corey reading that article. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of piece it out in a few different videos here. So we'll bring that other one to you here in a separate video. But this is some pretty good stuff. Again, for those of you living in poverty who are low income or fixed income, there's a lot going on right now. Seriously, the forces are in your favor right now, right? So I'll do whatever I can to help you out right now. I'll continue doing whatever I can to bring you all this information each and every day. And ultimately, relief will be coming in some form. It's just a matter of what. I mean, at this point, there's like 20 different options on the table for all these different packages, stimulus checks, monthly recurring payments, guaranteed basic income, universal basic income, raises to benefits, reforming of programs. I mean, there's a lot cooking right now. So subscribe down below so you don't miss any videos going forward. I'll continue to be here for you each and every day. Share this video with your friends, family, social media. Go back and check out some of the other videos right here on the channel. We have over 1,400 videos, a lot of good stuff cooking here for you. And I'll do whatever I can to help you out each and every day. So thanks again. I really appreciate you. I will see you in the next video.